If you're watching this on YouTube, check the description for links to free speech versions of this video that haven't been heavily edited. Hitler was innocent, Pretoria fitness queen charged for comments against Jews. This is Simone Abigail Creel. She was the USN Face of Fitness 2017. So among other things, Creel allegedly wrote that the fucking Jews are greedy as fuck, and that there is a special place in hell for them. A criminal charge has been laid against Simone Abigail Creel for allegedly posting anti-Semitic inflammatory messages on an Instagram page on the 16th of May. Among other things, Creel allegedly wrote that the fucking Jews are greedy as fuck and that there is a special place in hell for them, and that the German dictator Adolf Hitler was innocent of the Holocaust. The charge was laid by the South African Jewish Board of Deputies, the SAJBD, through its legal representatives, Ian Levitt attorneys. According to the SA Jewish Report, Creel, 28, lives in Pretoria and is relatively well known in fitness circles. She identifies as Christian. She has about 3,000 followers on Instagram and was brand ambassador for fitness brand PSN Lifestyle. The company reportedly ended the deal after complaints from the public about the anti-Semitic posts. We can find Fitness Magazine denouncing her, saying like, please, 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 our brand, keep buying our product. We don't recognize the free speech of our spokespeople, and they have to toe the political line that we, a fitness company, are forced to subscribe to. The SAJBD National Vice Chairperson, Professor Karen Miner, whose name and charges was laid, said that the racist and inflammatory rhetoric of this nature was not only criminal but dangerous and needed to be confronted as strongly as possible. This was particularly true in the current climate, where many people were feeling anxious, frustrated, and confused, she said. Now, this part here, we're talking about the current climate. This is going to come into play later. It is such times that conspiracy theories tend to flourish, and too often Jews ended up becoming the scapegoats, said Milner, a professor of psychology at Wits University. The post in this case portray inter alia Jews as being intrinsically evil, morally and spiritually corrupt, and enemies of humanity at large. As such, they constitute classic anti-Semitism. David Sachs, associate director at the SAJBD, said that Creel was also given a deadline to remove the comments and apologize for it, which she refused to do. Not sorry. Initially, we wrote her that asked her to remove the post and apologize to the Jewish community, but she didn't. In fact, she carried on posting similar things on Facebook. She's really not sorry for what she has allegedly done. She thinks she's quite justified in letting the world know what the Jews are all about. So in views of the hate speech laws under the review of a constitutional court, we decided to lay a criminal case. Sachs said that the comments came out of the blue and that Creel had previously dated a Jewish man and had at one point considered converting to Judaism, but she had some videos that turned her into a passionate convert into an anti-Semitic worldview, Sachs said. News 24 could not reach Creel by telephone. She told the SA Jewish Report, I don't go look for them, the videos, they just happened to pop up on Facebook. Out of curiosity, I had a look. So they're going to maybe use this to call for more censorship on Facebook. Creel reportedly said that the videos infuriated her and that she now believed the Holocaust was a setup executed by Hitler's men at the cost of millions of Jewish lives. So this is a part that doesn't make sense. This is the same quote used in news websites like News 24, but this is the claim of the Holocaust, right? The Holocaust was a setup executed by Hitler's men at the cost of millions of Jewish lives. This is at least a claim of the Holocaust, right? So I don't know if this is a typo or what this is, but it doesn't quite make sense with the rest of the article. Now, see here, this is from the Jewish Report. It's fairly more detailed. 28-year-old South African athlete and bodybuilder Simone Abigail Creel posted a deluge of anti-Semitic and anti-Jewish conspiracy theories on social media platform Instagram. I wonder if part of it is that Jewish people own these media companies and are able to silence critics of theirs. You know, that's obviously a fake conspiracy theory with no basis in reality, right? South Africa's foremost anti-Semitism expert, Professor Milton Shane, said Kriel's outburst was an astonishing anti-Jewish tirade, the likes of which we hardly hear today. Kriel lives in Pretoria and is relatively, like we already know this. In a long, often nonsensical tirade, Kriel wrote, among other points, the fucking Jews are greedy as fuck and they will wage war against countries and races based on lies and deception to get what they want. It was the Jews that bombed, raped, sodomized and burned all people in Germany alive. I think there's still people in Germany. Hitler is innocent. Our history has been twisted to favor the Jews without question. There is a special place in hell for them. After what I've just watched, the religion is just as corrupt as the souls they embody. Here is the link on how Europe was raped by the Jews. She shared a link to an 11-hour documentary titled Europa, The Last Battle, one of the plethora of conspiracy theory films on the web. She talks at length about Jewish Bolshevism and the Rothschilds, Jews striving for a new world order, and Jews controlling the media. David Sachs, the Associate Director of the South African Jewish Board of Deputies, says, "This is one more of the blatant, in-your-face instances of anti-Jewish hate speech that we have seen in the country for some time. It depicts Jews as intrinsically and irredeemably corrupt, malevolent and destructive element in human affairs throughout history. Propagating such sentiments in a public forum constitutes, in our view, a clear violation of the Jewish community's right to dignity and equality, and the board is dealing with it on that basis." So this is interesting, because they're saying that people have a disproportionate amount of power and they've historically abused that power is a violation of their constitutional right under the South African government. So I have to ask you, what are theories of white privilege? White privilege theory that I was taught at university, that so many other South Africans are. What is this? When you have political figures calling white people Dutch gangsters who came and stole the country and destroyed it, when you have them blaming an embittered white minority for all their failings, what is that? You speak of the context of people being paranoid, and you say, well, under this context especially we need to look at this. Well, what about the context of so many white farmers being killed and interracial crime rates in general not being released? You say it's an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory that certain groups own the media, but when criticism is leveled against these groups, not even as dramatic as the things said by South African politicians, these voices are silenced. So here we talk again about the ultimatum they gave, as if they could. I think part of the thing of this is that there's been South African politicians. Velipe Khumalo was a sports minister who said he wanted the country cleansed of white people and found guilty of hate speech, but his punishment was to write an apology letter, not even to whites, to all South African. This man is a politician who called for the death of all whites, who said they should do to whites what Hitler did to Jews, and after years and years of litigation, it was found he had to write an apology letter to all South Africans. Now, I want you to guess if this is the same level of punishment Miss Kriel is going to suffer for what she said. I'm betting it isn't. Even though what she said isn't in line with what Mr. Khumalo said, it's more in line with the white privilege theory taught at schools. It's more in line with the things allowed in academia. In fact, this decolonization stuff is more damaging. This white privilege decolonization, it's more damaging and more dangerous than you could ever claim, than the stuff said by this young lady, than you could ever claim it was, right? This has actually led to the burning down of university buildings, of artifacts, of works of art, manuscripts, actual historical documents wiped out of existence in order to decolonize these institutions. If you look at something like the Rhodes Must Fall movement, spearheaded by various figures such as Alex Hotz, right? So if you're looking at things in context, really you can't say that her opinion is even as dangerous or as damaging as the things that are taught through taxpayer-funded public education systems with regard to white privilege and decolonization, about how whites have, or in the halls of parliament, about how whites have ruined the country and they've raped the country and they've done all this, right? Just not looking at the facts of either claim, the severity of the racial profiling and the crimes you accuse groups of, clearly that's the same level of severity. It doesn't go anywhere near the call to violence Mr. Khumalo engaged in. Also, her position as a fitness model is nowhere near as prominent as his is in a governmental position, which he did not lose, by the way. And also, when you talk about context, well, there is no widespread anti-Jewish violence in South Africa. There are, we might look at, one I can think of is a Jewish farmer, a Jewish strawberry farmer who was killed on his farm. But if we're going to say this was racial, I don't think it was Jewish. I don't think he was targeted as a Jew. I think he was targeted because he was white presenting. And the amount of hatred and violence we see in South Africa in the current political climate, it's against white people. You'd have to be blind to not see that. You have politicians calling for the slaughter of whites and getting slaps on the wrist. Meanwhile, you have white people using racial slurs and getting prison sentences. You have politicians saying how whites are evil and they stole the country, and nothing happens to them. But of course, consistency, logic, reason, fairness, all of these things are supposedly, I guess, patriarchal white supremacist constructs, and we shouldn't expect equal treatment or just treatment in the name of social justice. Creel told the SA Jewish Report, I don't go looking for, we know this, keeping in mind that I know the faith well and considered conversion at some stage, I came across the most disturbing information that absolutely infuriated me, she said. She believes the Holocaust was set up, executed by Hitler's men at the cost of millions of Jewish lives. See, here it is repeated again. I don't understand. Like, is she saying, oh, it was millions, but it wasn't 6 million? I don't get it. I think most Jews know what happened 90 years ago and who was actually responsible for World War II and the Holocaust, and I know they don't want us to talk about it. So she thinks the Holocaust did happen, and it was executed by Hitler's men, but she's doing revisionism. I think she's recently come across some things that challenged the worldview she was indoctrinated with, and she reacted. And I think that's what happened. And I think if you punish her, especially considering that would be pretty ridiculous. But you know, you'll show your hypocrisy all over. Shane, who is emeritus professor of history at University of Cape Town, says Kriel denies the Holocaust and consciously turns the victims of Hitler into perpetrators. Hitler is indeed vindicated. He believes that she has been digging deeply into the dark web and beyond. Indeed, like, I don't know if he knows what the dark web is. I don't think he does. Indeed, her Facebook page was awash with conspiracy theories about COVID-19 as well as other anti-Semitic comments. Her page has since been removed from Facebook. So we see here, we're told that racism is power plus prejudice. But who has the power here? This emeritus professor at the University of Cape Town, the owners of Facebook, the people who control the various social media platforms that she was removed from, or this sports model? Who has the political power that enables them to be racist, right? When her contract with PSN Lifestyle was cancelled, Kriel chose not to apologize. Instead, she dug her heels in. Well, I think we've all seen how far apologizing gets you. No one will bully me into believing that their religion is superior to mine. I'm Christian, and I will defend and speak up for what happened in the past, contrary to what today's beliefs, she wrote amongst other points. The PSN Lifestyle wrote on Facebook that it had asked Kriel to remove her ties to the company on social media with immediate effect. When contacted by the SA Jewish Report, it chose not to comment. Shane believes that Kriel's posts are unabashed hate speech, but Constitutional Court law expert advocate Mart Oppenheimer warned that this case might not see the way of court by law because the question of what constitutes hate speech is currently before the Constitutional Court. Hate speech may soon only be categorized as that of constitutes incitement to cause harm. Now, I was actually under the impression it was already that. If you are going to find this as hate speech under Constitutional Court, I don't have any faith in the white advocate groups or what pass for white advocate groups in South Africa. I think they're horrifically inept. I think they're cowardly. I think that they are afraid to make a case in favor of white people. I've literally had a pro-white lawyer in South Africa tell me my videos wouldn't count as satire, even though they're works of ironic commentary speaking truth to power, but they still wouldn't count as satire because I didn't use puppets, if you want to know the sort of level of competency there. But if any of you are competent, and this is found to be hate speech, you have to start challenging all these things taught in university as hate speech, not just Fuck White People by Dean Hutton, which was found to not be hate speech because white people are systemically privileged, right? You need to go after all the things, even the statement that white people are systemically privileged, and the whole history taught about white people as hate speech, using this as precedent. I mean, you won't, but that would be the smart thing to do, because that is equivalent to what she's saying. They're saying white people have this thing that they oppress other people and they've ruined people all throughout history, which is basically what she's saying about Jewish people. And why have double standards? One standard will do fine, right? But, I mean, if you don't expect double standards, you haven't been paying attention. However, the community service organizations, Jevon Greenblatt said, the CSO is working with the SIJBD to investigate the case. It's concerning in light of rising global levels of anti-Semitism, which have been exacerbated by the coronavirus crisis. What's different about this case isn't a fringe extremist by an ordinary South African with a substantial online following. Although her worldview is dangerous and unacceptable, we are particularly concerned about how her words and views, expressed in a public forum, could motivate others to go out and commit acts of violence. Such acts are one too many. Just one such act is one too many. History shows that words eventually turn into actions. We are monitoring this closely. So, do you think the violence against white South African farmers could at all be inspired by prominent political figures? If you're concerned about a fitness model saying these things, are you at all concerned about the things that politicians in South Africa say? Are you at all concerned about political rallies where they scream, kill the whites, kill the Boer, all of them, all whites must die? Like, are you at all concerned about this? Or is this nonsense because of white privilege? Because of white privilege, this is political speech, right? Because of white privilege, in a context where white South Africans are slaughtered, especially white farmers are slaughtered, and you have politicians screaming about the evils of colonialism, about how white people are Dutch gangsters, and about all this stuff, about how whites must be driven into the sea, saying we're not calling for the death of all white people yet. You're going to say that this doesn't constitute as hate speech, but a fitness model repeating what you think are anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, this constitutes as hate speech, and this is something that you must be concerned with, right? It's interesting to note that her ability to be extremely fit and to show off her amazing body is in no way affected by her political views, but things that are ostensibly apolitical throw her under the bus and delete her presence, any affiliation with her. One wonders if you do the same thing when somebody says something anti-white. Oh yeah, you don't. In fact, you can get contracts by saying anti-white things, right? But you say ostensibly anti-Semitic things, and what happens to you? Well, you get non-personed. So yeah, anyway, Miss Creel, I'm sorry that your life as you knew it is pretty much over. I don't know how many friends you used to have that you now have. If you are somehow watching this, don't speak to anyone until your court case is over. It can't help you. I mean, obviously, I don't know if you can get a good lawyer that'll represent you, because all the lawyers I knew in South Africa, even the ones with right-wing or populist viewpoints, they'd be too scared to touch this, out of protecting what's left of their own little lives behind secure fences in a failing economy in a collapsing country. All the supposed champions of freedom of speech and liberty in South Africa, well, where are you? All the people that were saying, well, I don't care about social justice warriors, and I think people should have the right to speak their minds, well, where are you? Oh yeah, you're hiding. You're not saying anything about this, right? And it would be so easy. You don't have to defend what she said as like something you believe. You know, talk about freedom of speech, her right to say it. All these young men who do have voices, who have political voices, who aren't even going to defend her on the grounds of free speech. From the top-down assault happening on her person and her livelihood, and now even her freedom, as they're trying to take her to court over giving her political opinion. This is sick, this is perverse. So yeah, anyway, that's all I think about that for now. I'm Joe, and I'm not shadow banned yet. Thank you for watching this video. I appreciate your likes and subscriptions, but more important than that is sharing it, okay? If you are watching this on YouTube, the algorithms are definitely suppressing me. And also, if you're watching this on YouTube, check the description for links to free speech versions of this video that haven't been heavily edited. If you are watching this on BitChute or some other platform, please feel free to download it and share it all you want. I'm not worried about copyright. I'm worried about the message getting out there. And especially this video, this is being dealt with very little by people critical of the situation. Only people calling for the destruction of this girl are really getting any sort of play in the media. So, you know, spam this video or articles about her everywhere you can. Spam her name in the text chats of any political figures. Force people to talk about this. So bring that up. Bring up the hypocrisy. Like, oh, they want to destroy this woman for what she said, but look how they go after these politicians. They give them slaps on the wrist for what they say, if anything at all. And yeah, get this message out there, because if you don't get it out there, it's not getting out there.